That's impossible. And I've been trying to tell these guys that you got to be in the system to realize the sentence you get. When certain stuff just don't weigh up, it's a mandatory 1 year sentence when you just get $5 worth of stuff.
Fetty Wap finally walked out of federal custody on January 8, 2026, after doing just 3 years of a 6-year sentence for drug trafficking. The internet went crazy the moment he touched down, with wild talk flying around that he might have snitched to shave off his time. And now, brand new footage shows his ops rolling up on him. People are asking, was this payback? Was someone out for revenge? The streets are buzzing, and here's how it all went down. Fetty, whose real name is Willie Jr. Maxwell II, officially walked free on January 8, 2026. He was never supposed to be out this early. His original release date was 2029, but because of good behavior and those federal time credits, he managed to slide out early and landed in community confinement. Basically, house arrest. He might be home, but the feds still got him on a short leash. Now he's under supervised release until November 2035. That's 9 more years of Uncle Sam breathing down his neck. The rules are strict as ever. He's got to take random drug tests whenever they decide. Can't open a single bank account without getting approval, and the feds are tracking every dime he touches. No drinking, no slipping up, no nothing unless it's cleared by them. And forget about crossing state lines without a green light. One wrong move, and they'll have him right back behind bars. He's got to check in on the regular, no skipping out or playing games. The feds might even slap an ankle monitor on him at any time. These aren't friendly suggestions from his PO. These are strict federal orders with real consequences.
What seems like damn near just a couple of years ago, because it was, holy smokes, we seen 4 letters pop up. This one, home. That's from his official page. Then he goes on to write this. I want to thank my family, friends, and fans for the love, prayers, and continued support. It truly means everything to me. Right now,
one slip up and he's right back in that box, no questions asked. This supervised release might sound like freedom, but truthfully, it's still doing time, just without the bars. Right after getting home, the homie wasted no time. He hopped on his IG story, showing himself finally back on the block, and dropped a quick statement for his people. By the afternoon of January 8th, clips started flooding the internet. Fetty getting a hero's welcome in Jersey. The scene was packed out. Family, day one friends, and loyal fans all showing love. The most viral video showed a full crowd going crazy. Everyone clapping, cheering, and shouting 1,738 like it was the old days again. The energy was pure. No tension, no beef, no drama, just real celebration and good vibes all around. You could feel the love through the screen. Their guy had finally made it home. But to really understand this moment, you gotta know how Fetty ended up in the feds in the first place. That path from a platinum-selling artist to a federal inmate didn't happen overnight. It was years of choices, pressure, and hard lessons that brought him here. Fetty Wap got taken down back in October 2021, right at Citi Field in New York. And trust, that timing wasn't by accident. The feds picked that exact moment on purpose. He was supposed to hit the stage at Rolling Loud NYC, one of the biggest hip-hop festivals in the world, with thousands of fans waiting to see him perform. But instead of lights and music, it was flashing badges and handcuffs.
my focus is on giving back through my community initiatives and foundation, supporting at-risk young children by expanding access to education, early tech skills, and vision care for young kids and students so they can show up as their best selves. I'm committed to moving forward with purpose and making a meaningful impact where it matters most.
Federal agents swooped in and arrested him along with 5 others, all tied to an indictment that had just been unsealed in Queens. That move wasn't quiet or low-key, it was meant to make noise. The feds wanted the whole hip-hop world watching, sending a loud warning. This is what happens when fame meets the streets. They made an example out of him right there in front of everyone. Prosecutors claimed Fetty was part of a bi-coastal drug ring moving serious weight from California all the way to New Jersey and Long Island. The operation reportedly ran from June 2019 to June 2020, a full year of non-stop work. They said the crew pushed more than 100 kilograms of cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, and crack. That's not street-level hustle, that's major cartel-type business. And make no mistake, this wasn't some random bust or a quick traffic stop gone bad. The feds had been building this case for months, watching every move before making their play. As the feds dug deeper into the case, they pulled in a mountain of evidence, around $1.5 million in cash, plus cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, pills, guns, and stacks of ammo. This wasn't any small-time corner hustle. This was a full-blown operation moving serious product across state lines. The setup was tight, organized, and heavy, showing that this was a network, not just a random street crew.
He was arrested yesterday at Citi Field. It was during a music festival in the afternoon before he performed. He's one of 6 indicted for conspiracy to distribute more than 100 kilograms of controlled substances on Long Island and in New Jersey. And those arrested also include a New Jersey correction officer. Officials say Fetty Wap and others involved transported, distributed deadly and addictive drugs, including heroin and fentanyl on Long Island, deliberately contributing to the opioid epidemic.
At first, Fetty managed to catch a break and post bail, walking free while waiting for trial. But that freedom didn't last long, not even close. By August 2022, the feds snatched his bail right back. Why? Reports said he allegedly got on a FaceTime call and threatened to murk somebody, straight up violating his release terms. That move got him hit hard. The reports were wild. They said he even flashed a gun during the call and called someone a rat. The message couldn't have been clearer. He was allegedly aiming that heat at someone he thought had snitched. And if there's one thing federal judges don't tolerate, it's defendants out on bail-making threats or trying to intimidate potential witnesses. That's a fast track to losing your freedom again. And that's exactly what happened. By the end of August 2022, Fetty decided to plead guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to distribute and possess controlled substances, specifically at least 500 grams of cocaine. That charge carried a mandatory minimum of 5 years, and his plea was a calculated move. It wasn't about admitting defeat, it was about damage control and trying to limit how much time he'd have to serve. Fentanyl changed everything. Once that drug hits a federal case, the whole vibe in court shifts. Judges go way tougher, no hesitation. The opioid crisis flipped the system into a zero-tolerance zone, and it's easy to see why. Every year, tens of thousands of people lose their lives to fentanyl overdoses. That stuff's no joke. It's way stronger than heroin, and just a speck can be deadly. So when the feds see someone pushing fent, they don't see a hustler. They see somebody feeding a national tragedy. Defense lawyers can barely breathe when fentanyl shows up in the paperwork. That one word alone makes prosecutors go harder and judges less forgiving. Fetty and his legal team knew the deal from the jump. They understood the stakes were sky high.
The multi-million-dollar drug distribution used Suffolk County as their home base. We're told the defendants would get drugs on the West Coast and use the U.S. Postal Service and drivers with hidden compartments to transport the drugs across the country to Suffolk County, where they were stored. Fetty Wap's role, according to officials, a kilogram-level redistributor for the trafficking organization.
If he fought the case and lost, he could have been sitting down for decades. The system's stacked. When prosecutors come with wiretaps, money trails, solid evidence, and witnesses ready to testify, the win rate for them is like 90%, basically unbeatable. So Fetty played it smart. Pleading guilty gave him a shot at cutting some time off by showing acceptance of responsibility. It wasn't about pride, it was pure strategy. Going to trial could have doubled his sentence, easy. This wasn't him shouting, "I'm innocent." This was him making a survival move, plain and simple. In the world of federal court, sometimes the smartest play is damage control. And for Fetty, that move led him straight to sentencing day, May 24th, 2023 in Central Islip, New York, the day that would officially seal his fate. The judge hit Fetty with 6 years in federal prison, plus 5 years of supervised release to follow. Since he'd already been locked up since August 2022, that time counted toward the bid. But the feds still made sure the sentence stung. Prosecutors even tried to throw his own lyrics back at him during sentencing, pointing to Trap Queen and claiming it proved he'd been tied to the game for years. Talk about using art against the artist.
Fetty Wap didn't get picked up by the police. He got picked up by the feds. And when the feds show up, that means the case been done for a minute. And that wasn't no traffic stop, wasn't no random raid. That was a long play. They had the phones tapped, they had people talking, they had routes mapped, they had numbers counted.
The judge did take note of his remorse and the fact that he had family depending on him, but in the end, the gavel came down. 6 years flat. Fetty was shipped off to FC Wine Sandstone in Minnesota, a medium security federal facility. From August 2022 to January 2026, he served about 3 years and 5 months, putting in work behind those walls. Now, the federal system's got a few ways to shave off time for good behavior, and Fetty made sure to take advantage of that. Through good conduct credits and participation in programs under the First Step Act, his release date kept creeping closer. Originally, he wasn't supposed to touch freedom until 2029. Then it got bumped to December 2026. But with more credits and program completions stacked up, he managed to walk out in January 2026, way earlier than anyone expected. Fetty earned enough time reductions to qualify for community confinement a full 11 months early, way before that December 2026 mark. The Bureau of Prisons didn't drop details about his exact credits, but everyone knows the formula. Under 18 U.S.C. paragraph 3624, federal inmates can earn up to 54 days per year of good conduct time.
The judges stop playing, the deals get ugly, and time starts stacking. And Fetty Wap knew what time it was. Before the jury ever heard shit, he pled guilty. That ain't a flex, that's straight up calculation. That's knowing the evidence ugly and trying to limit the damage. The feds don't bluff when it comes to that F-ball either.
On top of that, extra credits come from completing education programs, job training, and other approved activities. Stack enough of those up, and your sentence starts shrinking fast. But let's be clear. His lawyer already addressed the elephant in the room back in 2022. The attorney said straight up, he's not cooperating with the feds. The guilty plea was a solo move. No snitching, no testimony, no paperwork for substantial assistance. Nothing. Just a plea deal on his own terms. Right now, Fetty's on house arrest in New Jersey, under the Bureau of Prisons' Philadelphia Residential Reentry Management Office. His full release is set for November 8th, 2026. But until then, he's still got the feds watching close. They're keeping tabs with random drug tests, tracking every dollar he touches, and limiting where he can go or what he can do. No room for slip-ups. Still, the moment news hit about his early release, the internet went wild. Speculation started flying left and right. Did Fetty Wap cooperate with the feds? Did he trade names for freedom? The talk spread fast, with everyone trying to piece together what really went down. Did Fetty drop paperwork to shave time off his sentence? Was his freedom bought by giving up names from his own circle? Those questions exploded online. And honestly, in hip-hop, they're nothing new. Every time someone gets out early, suspicions light up fast. Reduced sentences spark instant side-eye, and accusations start flying before the ink on the release papers even dries. In street culture and rap circles, that snitch label hits harder than anything. It can crush reputations, kill careers, and even put lives in danger.
He got out because federal math kicked in. Time served, good time, BOP credits, that's how the Fed time worked. Now he's home, but the argument is just starting. Some people are saying, shit, he paid his debt, let him live. Others said, nah, hold on. We need to dig a little bit deeper on here.
The whispers actually started way back in August 2022, when Fetty copped that guilty plea. Some fans and critics instantly took that as a sign he'd flipped, saying, why plead guilty unless you cutting a deal? The logic seemed simple to outsiders, but that's not how federal court really works. Just because somebody pleads out doesn't mean they're talking to the feds. Far from it. A guilty plea in the federal system doesn't automatically equal cooperation. There are tons of reasons people plead out, and most of them got nothing to do with snitching. Sometimes the evidence is just too stacked to fight. We're talking wiretaps catching you talking business, surveillance videos showing you meeting with co-defendants, financial records tracking unexplained cash, and witnesses placing you right in the mix. When that kind of evidence piles up, a plea isn't about betrayal. It's about survival. At a certain point, fighting those federal charges just wasn't worth it. Fetty's own attorney made it crystal clear back in 2022. He's not cooperating with the feds. The plea was completely standalone. No deals, no backdoor promises, no telling on anyone. Fetty admitted to distributing 500 grams of cocaine, but that's where it stopped. He didn't testify against his co-defendants, didn't help build cases, and didn't hand over info in exchange for favors. The numbers back that up too. He got 6 years, just 1 year above the mandatory minimum of 5, and that's key.
Now, we was in the shop talking about the Fetty Wap case out of New Jersey. If 5 men's on that case outside of him a conspiracy, he already had a domestic violence and a DV. Now, it was 220 grams of H and 10 pounds of fent and also the C. And this man got a sentence of 6 years. That's highly unlikely for a man to get that much less time for that amount of illegal substance in the federal system unless he's working. That's impossible.
When people cooperate with the government, their sentences usually get slashed big time. snitches walk away with wild reductions, sometimes doing half or even less than the minimum. Prosecutors reward them by filing what's called downward departure motions. It's the official way they give out sentence discounts for substantial assistance. But Fetty didn't get that. 6 years flat proves there was no discount in play. If he'd really been working with the feds, that number would have been way lower. His sentence was textbook. Nothing special, just the standard time that fits his charge. That's why the talk online doesn't really line up with how the system works. Still, once he hit the streets, the internet lost its mind. Social media blew up with posts and tweets. Did Fetty Wap snitch? How's he out already? People couldn't wrap their heads around how he served only 3 years on a 6-year sentence. But the truth's not that deep. It's just federal math, good conduct time, and First Step Act credits stacking up to get him home early. The First Step Act credits are nothing secret or shady. They're standard across the federal system. Every inmate who qualifies can earn them by staying out of trouble, joining programs, and finishing educational or vocational courses. These credits stack up automatically, cutting down time little by little. And just to be clear, these aren't snitch rewards. They're incentives for good behavior and positive progress while locked up. That's the system working the way it's meant to. Meanwhile, some voices online came out strong in Fetty's defense. One post said, "Man, forget the streets and that no snitch talk." Fetty Wap should be a role model. That energy spread quick, showing love to the idea that he handled his time quietly and maturely. No drama, no fake tough talk, no street code theatrics. Even on Reddit, discussions broke it down smart. People were separating the difference between snitching and self-preservation. One user wrote,
"That's impossible. And I've been trying to tell these guys that you got to be in the system to realize the sentence you get when certain stuff just don't weigh up. It's a mandatory 1-year sentence when you just get $5 worth of stuff. So you got anything over 5 grams is a mandatory 5-year sentence in the federal system. So how do a person get 5 years, 6 years, when it's mandatory 5 years for 5 grams? It's impossible."
"Snitching is saving your own skin. I'm just shocked he only got 6 years. That comment nailed it. Pleading guilty to minimize damage isn't betrayal, it's a strategy. It's about surviving the system, not selling anyone out. And when you look at the paperwork, the facts speak loud. No cooperation agreements filed. No substantial assistance motions from prosecutors. His co-defendants' cases rolled on untouched. No signs he had anything to do with them. Court records show a simple guilty plea and a normal sentence. Nothing shady behind it. The bottom line, paranoia ain't proof. And in Fetty's case, the receipts just don't match the rumors. Suspicion ain't proof. And in Fetty's case, the paperwork tells the real story. He pleaded guilty, served most of his time, earned standard credits, and got out early through official federal programs. Nothing sneaky about it. This kind of early release isn't rare at all. It happens all the time in the system for inmates who follow the rules and put in the work. Still, the internet had its theories. People started saying, "Yo, for that much weight, 6 years sounds too light. He must have cooperated." But that logic misses how federal sentencing really works. It ignores things like plea negotiations, guideline ranges, and the difference between what's alleged and what's proven. Just because the full operation moved a ton of product doesn't mean every person involved was held accountable for all of it.
His music went quiet. It went straight up. Nobody was listening to that shit no more. The hit stopped, the buzz dried up, the sound moved on. But by the time he touched the cell, Fetty wasn't even competing with no new rappers. His ass was already done. So really, he's competing with his own self. So prison don't pause your music career like we always see. It does erase a little bit of momentum, but the algorithm don't care about your case, playlists don't care about your struggle, and nostalgia only goes so far.
Federal courts run on a sentencing guideline system. Judges weigh a bunch of factors before locking in a number. They look at a person's criminal history, acceptance of responsibility, role in the conspiracy, and the amount of drugs directly tied to them. Fetty had a clean record compared to others and took responsibility early, which counts big in federal court. Even though the overall crew moved around 100 kilograms, his specific charge only covered 500 grams of cocaine. That's what the judge focused on. His sentence reflected his part in the operation, not the entire network's activity. So while the rumors sound juicy, the math and the law show it was just standard sentencing. Plain and simple. All this confusion really comes from people not understanding how federal sentencing actually works. The charge Fetty pleaded to carried a 5-year mandatory minimum, and the judge hit him with 6 years, just 1 year above that. That's not suspicious at all. That's normal. Judges often hand out sentences slightly above the minimum once they factor in things like role, responsibility, and the federal guidelines. That little bump most likely reflected Fetty's specific position in the operation, not some secret deal. Now, if Fetty had cooperated, we'd be talking about a completely different outcome. Real cooperation cases usually end with sentences of 2 or 3 years, sometimes even time served. But 6 years? That's not a snitch discount. That's a standard bid. So, when you really look at the math, the "he snitched" theory just doesn't hold water. His attorney publicly denied any cooperation. Prosecutors never filed a substantial assistance motion, and the co-defendants' cases all moved forward untouched because there was no testimony. The records are right there for anyone to see. Plain, official, and contradiction-free.
So the real question ain't about jail, it's about what's next. Do y'all think Fetty can come home and shake it up again? Or is this one of them times where the streets still respect you, but the gang had already moved on? Is this the comeback waiting to happen, or is the closure for a run that already ended?
Still, social media loves a rumor, and echo chambers keep the noise alive. But loud speculation doesn't make something true. The documented facts shut all that down. Fetty Wap served his time and came home without snitching. Now that he's out, it seems like he's leaving all that behind. His statement after release focused on family, work, and community, saying he's aiming to make a real impact and move forward stronger than ever. These aren't the words of a man chasing street credibility. They sound like someone focused on rebuilding a real life after facing serious consequences and major losses. Beyond the fake death rumors and the tired snitch gossip, there's a deeper question people are starting to ask. Is Fetty Wap actually in danger now that he's home? To answer that, you gotta look back at his history in the rap game. The old beefs, the street tension, and where things stand today. Since his release on January 7th, 2026, there haven't been any credible reports of threats against him. A quick check shows the only mention of anything close to threats this year was tied to his own past. That 2022 FaceTime call where he allegedly threatened someone he thought was a snitch, the one that got his bail yanked. That was him making a threat, not receiving one. Now it's true Fetty's past had real smoke in it. Back in 2017, things got heated in his hometown of Paterson, New Jersey, when old rivalries spilled into the streets.
Oh, listen, man. Listen, shout out to Fetty Wap, bruh. Shout out to him. You know, me personally on the music tip, I don't necessarily think it's over, but I think if he tries to go back and recreate that sound, I think that's going to be gone. He can add elements of that shit, but the question is, who's going to embrace him? Who is good enough in the rap game to embrace him?
The drama reportedly involved Raheem Fuzz Thomas, a figure linked to a shooting tied to Fetty, a violent situation born from local beef and long-standing tension. That was no internet argument. That was real danger with bullets flying and reputations on the line. But that was years ago, and time changes everything. Fetty's been locked up, others have moved on, and most of those old conflicts seem to have cooled off. Some of the players caught their own cases or fell back from the street life completely, even past business drama, like the royalty lawsuit filed by his former collaborator P. Dice, feels like old news now. The heat from those days seems to have faded, leaving Fetty focused on new goals and a clean slate. Yeah, Fetty's had his share of disputes, but these latest ones aren't about street beef. They're the kind that play out in courtrooms, not in alleyways. Financial and business drama might cause tension, but it rarely turns into real danger. Still, right after his release, things got heated fast. And this time, the smoke came from inside his own circle. Within just 24 hours of walking free, family drama exploded online. Keisha and Leslie Lauder, the mothers of his children, jumped on X and publicly called him out, labeling him a deadbeat. One post went viral saying, "All those videos of him coming home. Where's the video of him going to see his kids?" The shade was heavy, the tone was sharp. It was a raw public confrontation that got everyone talking. But let's keep it real. These are emotional, family-based disputes, not street-level threats. They're about co-parenting, responsibility, and accountability, not revenge or violence. It's personal drama, not gang tension. Sure, it's stressful and embarrassing when it plays out in front of millions, but it's not the kind of situation that puts someone in physical danger. These are women demanding he show up for his kids, not enemies plotting payback. Then came the social backlash. Users online started revisiting his past, especially his history with drugs. One person posted, "He's the reason the youth is dying," taking aim at his old ties to fentanyl and the damage that caused. That's not a threat. That's moral outrage. people expressing anger at what his choices once represented. If there were real threats against Fetty right now, they'd surface online. That's how things move in 2026. But so far, nothing credible. Just the noise of social media doing what it always does, mixing truth, emotion, and internet drama into one big storm.
Because if I'm Drake, Iceman ain't came out yet. Get Fetty Wap on the hook on the beginning song. Fetty Wap, you know what to do. First Day Out the Feds, Part 2.
When real rivals want to send a warning, they don't stay quiet. They make it known. In today's world, the digital space usually exposes tension before it ever spills into real life. But searching for any threats aimed at Fetty Wap after his release turns up nothing serious. Just celebration videos, family drama, and general criticism. But no talk of danger. Even major media outlets back that up. TMZ's coverage of his release focused purely on the facts, dates, conditions, and what's next for him, with zero mention of security worries or possible threats. The New York Post told the same story, sticking to the details of his early release and house arrest situation. If there were any legit safety issues, those big outlets would have picked up on it fast, but they didn't. And let's not forget that viral Welcome Home video. The crowd was huge, full of family, fans, and day ones all showing love in broad daylight. That's not the move of a man ducking danger. If Fetty thought he was a target, there's no way he'd be that visible or that relaxed in public. His team would have locked things down tight if they believed real threats were out there. Instead, what we're seeing is celebration, not conflict. Some users even said his return was a moment of respect, not controversy. He came home to cheers, not chaos. One post summed it up perfectly, saying the standing ovation showed love for a man who did his time and kept it quiet. In a culture where loyalty and silence still hold weight, Fetty Wap earned respect by keeping it solid and staying drama-free through his entire bid. That kind of calm, low-key approach earns real respect. It doesn't guarantee safety, but it definitely cuts down the tension. When someone handles their legal mess without wild outbursts or extra beef, they usually come home to less hostility and more quiet respect. Fetty seems to understand that perfectly. But to really get where he's at now, you gotta rewind and look at his career before the legal chaos hit. By the time his court dates rolled around, Fetty's music run had already slowed down heavy. Back in 2015 though, he was unstoppable. Trap Queen had the whole world singing along, blasting from every car, club, and corner store. It hit #2 on the Billboard Hot 100, got remixed a dozen times, and flipped the sound of trap into something melodic and addictive. He wasn't just making hits, he was shaping a sound.
We don't give a damn about your personal life, bro. We don't. We care about a time in our personal life when your music hit for us and created a moment, and then we listen to it and now we get nostalgic about it. We care about growth in your music. We don't give a shit about you, the person. You don't give a shit about us. You care about providing what the fans or people who support your music like, and the fans and supporters care about the music.
Then came the follow-ups, 6, 7, 9, and My Way, both straight bangers that kept his name buzzing. He was nominated for 2 Grammys, dropped a platinum debut album, and had every major artist watching his rise. For a minute, it felt like Fetty was the future of hip-hop. But then, everything slowed down. The hits stopped landing the same way. His momentum faded, and the industry moved on fast. Even he admitted later that the wave crashed quicker than expected. The streets loved him, but the mainstream spotlight slipped away. By the time the feds came knocking in 2021, his music career wasn't just paused. It was already fading out, making his legal troubles hit even harder. So why did Fetty's career collapse after shining so bright? The truth's layered. First off, the sound that made him famous, that melodic trap vibe, got played out fast. Once Trap Queen blew up, every other artist jumped on the same wave. The game got oversaturated, and the audience moved on to the next new trend before Fetty could reinvent himself. His later tracks just couldn't capture that same magic. Lightning didn't strike twice, but it wasn't just the music industry shifting. Life hit him hard too. In 2021, he dropped the Butterfly Effect mixtape, a project dedicated to his 4-year-old daughter, who tragically passed away from cardiac arrhythmia. That loss shattered him. Grief like that can crush a person's focus and creative drive. Some artists can turn that pain into art. Others just can't find the same spark again. For Fetty, it clearly took a toll. During the pandemic, people on social media even used Fetty's story as a cautionary tale. Lockdowns killed live shows, which are the main moneymakers for most artists, while streaming barely paid the bills. Without concerts or festivals, a lot of rappers struggled. And for Fetty, whose sales had already dipped, that hit even harder. Losing touring money when your buzz is already cooling off, that's financial pressure times 10. So when you look at everything, fading fame, personal tragedy, and money drying up, his slide back toward the street life starts to make more sense, even if it's not justifiable. It wasn't about greed, it was survival mode kicking in. But now, coming out of prison, he's facing the toughest task yet, trying to rebuild from the ground up with way less to work with than before. The music industry moves fast, and it's brutal. 3 years behind bars might as well be a lifetime when it comes to staying relevant. Trends flip overnight, new artists pop up every week, and fans move on quicker than ever. On top of that, streaming algorithms only push what's new and constantly promoted. So an artist who disappears for years comes back fighting uphill just to be noticed again.
That's the problem with these entertainers, because not one point in time do y'all sit up here and really give back. Hell no, y'all don't. Y'all get sponsors, y'all get people to help out. Not saying that you should spend your own cash.
Yeah, nostalgia gives Fetty a little boost. Trap Queen is still a classic. That track defined an era, and people remember exactly how 2015 felt when it dropped. The energy, the sound, the vibe. But nostalgia alone won't build a lasting comeback. You can't live forever off one anthem, no matter how big it was. So what's next? The breakdown of his career actually points toward a possible path forward. Fetty doesn't need to copy Trap Queen. That moment's gone, and trying to recreate it would only backfire. Instead, he could remix elements of his signature sound, that sing-song trap melody that changed the game, and fuse it with something fresh that fits today's scene. The real challenge? Finding the right people willing to take a chance on him again. Will big-name artists jump on a track with him? Will producers bet on his comeback? And more importantly, will labels even touch him after his legal run-ins? Those questions hang heavy over his future. Still, if he can lock in with the right collaborators and remind fans why his sound once ruled the charts, Fetty Wap might just find his way back into the spotlight. These are real questions with no easy answers. In the music game, coming home from the feds changes how people move around you. Some artists and labels get nervous about linking up with anyone fresh out. The stigma, the legal restrictions, and the potential drama can make business feel risky. They worry about bad press or unpredictable headlines. But on the flip side, there are others who see it differently. Some respect that he did his time, stayed solid, and came home clean. They might even see a comeback story worth backing. A man who's lived what he raps about and now has something real to say. But here's the cold truth. Fans don't care about redemption stories unless the music hits. Listeners want bangers, not sympathy. The industry's full of comeback tales that never made it past the first single. Fetty's talk about community work and helping the youth is commendable. It shows maturity and growth. But that doesn't automatically translate into streams, sales, or chart love. At the end of the day, this business runs on energy and emotion. People will support Fetty if his new sound connects, if it feels authentic and knocks like it used to. His personal evolution matters for his life, his family, and his peace of mind. But for the marketplace, it's all about the next hit. If the music slaps, people forget the past. If it doesn't, no redemption arc can save the career. The backlash around Fetty's comeback highlights a real tension. A lot of people feel uneasy celebrating someone whose past wealth came from pushing weight. This wasn't a case of personal use. Fetty was part of a major operation moving over 100 kilograms of cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, and crack. And let's be honest, fentanyl has destroyed entire communities. Tens of thousands of people lose their lives to it every year. So when some folks see crowds cheering his release, it doesn't sit right. They question whether that kind of celebration should even exist. Now, if Fetty wants to rebuild his career, the music has to earn the spotlight. Nostalgia can only carry him so far. People might check in out of curiosity, but staying power comes from hits that fans actually want to replay again and again. The big question is, can he still deliver that magic? It won't be easy. His supervised release conditions make everything tougher. Random drug tests, financial transparency, and tight travel restrictions mean every move has to be cleared through his PO. Even setting up studio sessions or doing shows out of state needs official approval. That kind of control makes running a music career a serious grind. Still, if he can find a way to balance it all and drop music that speaks to both his pain and growth, Fetty Wap might just flip the script on everyone counting him out. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about Fetty Wap's comeback and where he goes from here.